My late husband's journal revealed the truth he died protecting about our son. I'm not posting this for sympathy. I just need somewhere to put the truth before it eats me alive. My husband died 8 months ago. Car accident. Rain-slick highway late at night, the kind of storm that feels personal. The police said he lost control. Single vehicle guardrail instant. They said instant like that word could make grief easier to swallow. His name was Nathan. He was the kind of man everyone trusted. Calm, methodical. The one who remembered birthdays and backup plans. He'd been my anchor for 20 years. My best friend. Until he wasn't there anymore. For months, I moved like a shadow of myself. People brought casseroles, said time would help. It didn't. The house still smelled like him, cedar and coffee, and I couldn't bring myself to wash the last shirt he wore. I'd sit in his office sometimes, just to hear the faint hum of the air purifier he'd always kept running. He said dust made him anxious. It wasn't until 6 weeks after the funeral that I found the journal. It was hidden in the bottom drawer of his desk, behind old tax forms and a folder labeled car maintenance. A black moleskine worn around the edges. At first, I thought it was just notes. Nathan was an engineer, always scribbling diagrams and lists, but the handwriting wasn't neat. It was hurried, emotional, and on the first page, in shaky ink, he'd written, "If you're reading this, it means I couldn't keep the truth buried any longer." I almost put it down right there, but I didn't. Because grief makes you greedy. You start chasing ghosts, hoping one of them will tell you what you did wrong. The first entries were dated 2 years ago. He's been different lately. Withdrawn. Secretive. I don't want to believe what I think I'm seeing. I checked his messages. There's nothing. But there's something. First, I thought Nathan was talking about me, because around that time, our marriage had been strained. He worked late. I accused him of drifting. We fought quietly, the kind of fights that don't break things, just bruise air. But then the next line changed everything. Not her, him, and underneath, Ethan, our son. Ethan was 17 when Nathan died. Smart, quiet, the kind of boy who builds computers for fun and forgets to eat dinner. We'd always said he was Nathan's clone. Same calmness, same logical eyes. I couldn't imagine what he could have done that made his father write that way. The next few entries grew darker. Found the box under his bed. The smell hit first. Chemical. Metallic. He said it's for a project. I don't believe him. He's obsessed. Keeps going out after midnight. Says he's just walking. I remember those nights. Nathan would stay awake, staring at the ceiling. I'd roll over and ask what was wrong and he'd say, "Work stress." And I believed him. Until now. I read until dawn. My eyes burned, my hands shook, but I couldn't stop. It's worse than I thought. He's following that man again. I told him to stop. He smiled. That cold smile I've never seen before. I don't know who he's becoming. The final entry before the accident was dated the same day Nathan died. Tonight I'm ending it. I'll get the truth out of him one way or another. He's my son. God help me, he's my son. I dropped the journal. My chest felt like it cracked open. I wanted to scream, but the house was too quiet, like it was listening. Nathan had confronted Ethan that night. The night he died. I didn't sleep, didn't eat. The next morning I asked Ethan to sit down. He looked so calm, so normal. Sipping orange juice, scrolling his phone. For a second, I almost convinced myself I'd imagined everything. Then I slid the journal across the table. He stared at it, didn't touch it, didn't ask what it was, just said quietly, "You weren't supposed to find that." My heart stopped. "What do you mean?" He looked up then, and there was something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Not malice, not guilt, something colder. Resignation. Dad was supposed to destroy it, he said, and that's when I realized the car accident might not have been an accident. Ethan and I stared at each other across the table like two people waiting for the same thunder. The orange juice sweated onto his palm. He didn't wipe it away. Dad was supposed to destroy it, he repeated, as if saying the sentence again might make a different world appear. My voice sounded like it belonged to someone tidier. Destroy what, Ethan? The journal. A tiny lift of his shoulder. A non-answer that had lived in our house since he was 12. He promised he would. He said he just needed it for now. Needed it for what? For leverage, he said so softly I had to lean forward. Leverage, I echoed, and felt something in me click into a place I didn't know existed. Against who? He sipped, swallowed, set the glass down with an engineer's precision. Me. I waited for the punchline, the laugh, the "It's a joke, Mom, relax." It didn't come. Ethan, I said, and my throat burned around his name. What did your father think you did? Nothing on his face moved. He thought I followed someone, that I was planning something. Were you? Silence. An entire history fit into it. The slam of lockers. His first scraped knee. The birthday where I forgot to order a cake. The night he stayed out until 2 a.m. and I told myself that was just what boys did at 17. That boy's come home eventually. He took a breath that sounded like a decision. Do you want the truth? Yes, I said. Even if it kills me. He blinked slowly. You shouldn't say that. Why not? Because it might. I didn't call the police. I didn't call a lawyer. I did the thing that mothers do when terror arrives. I made coffee and put a plate of toast between us, as if butter could anchor time. He watched steam rise from my mug, as if calculating its half-life. Start from the beginning, I said. Not for me, for yourself. I won't interrupt. He rubbed his thumb along the glass ring on the table like it was a dial he could turn back. It started 2 summers ago, he said, with Mr. March. Our neighbor, retired cop, lived 3 doors down with a dog that barked at passing clouds. He taught Ethan to throw a baseball when Nathan worked late. At Christmas he brought over bourbon and pretended not to notice when I regifted it. What about Mr. March? I asked. He hit Jenna, Ethan said. The name landed like a pebble dropped in my chest, ripples expanding toward memories I didn't want. Jenna, a skinny girl with sharp elbows and shy eyes who sometimes babysat for us when Ethan was younger. She lived with her mother in the duplex behind March's place. Her mother cleaned houses on our street. Her boyfriend was a rotation of men who never stayed long enough to learn our names. How do you know? I saw it, he said. Last year, behind his garage. He grabbed her wrist and she cried. He told her to stop being dramatic. He told her no one would care if she screamed. I tasted metal. Did you tell your father? He nodded. He said he'd look into it. He said March had friends at the station, that we needed proof, that if we accused a former cop and were wrong. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. What did you do? I followed him, Ethan said. I followed March when he drove. Took pictures when he stopped at the bowling alley and drank for 4 hours then drove home. Took video when he yelled at Jenna behind the garage. I thought if I collected enough, Dad could make it stick, even without the girl saying anything. Did you talk to Jenna? I tried, he said. She told me to mind my business. She said I was a kid. And the box under your bed? I asked. Your father wrote about a smell. Ethan's mouth tightened. Chemicals. Yeah, why? He stared past me, through the kitchen window where the neighbor's maple still leaned toward our house like it was listening. I was going to scare him. Scare who? March. My hands went cold. Scare him how? I wasn't going to hurt him. The words came fast, defensive. I just wanted him to stop. I thought if he came outside and saw his car smoking, or his trash can on fire, he'd... On fire. My voice cracked on the last word. A small fire, he said. Not like anything big. Just enough to make him think someone was watching. Jesus, Ethan, I didn't do it, he said quickly. I got the stuff, yeah. Kerosene, some magnesium strips, but I didn't do it. I couldn't. The night I was going to, I stood behind his garage for 20 minutes and shook so hard I almost threw up. Then why did your father write what he wrote? Because he found the box, he said. He confronted me. I told him about March and Jenna. He didn't react like I expected. How did you expect him to react? To be proud, Ethan said, and the boy in his face reappeared for a second, the one who used to bring me bugs cupped in his palm like treasure. To say I was doing the right thing, to say we were going to make it stop. What did he say instead? He said I was a fool, Ethan whispered. He said if I lit one match I would spend the rest of my life paying for it, even if it was meant as a warning. He said there are some kinds of righteous that ruin you. I covered my eyes with my hand. The room tilted. A fly buzzed against the window screen like a trapped idea. So he took the box, Ethan continued. He said he'd handle it. He wrote in the journal so if anyone ever asked, he could prove he'd tried. And the night he died, Ethan's jaw went hard. He told me to meet him. Said he'd been to see March. Said March was going to leave town. Said it was finished. But it wasn't, I said. He shook his head. Dad left. I followed him 10 minutes later in case he needed me. The rain it was like a wall. I saw his taillights on the highway. Then I saw the guardrail. He stopped, swallowed. His hands were steady, which terrified me more than trembling would have. Did you call 911? I asked. I did. I ran down the embankment but the car. He shut his eyes. It was already over. I waited for the next part, the part where he said I saw another car, I saw someone run, I saw a pair of headlights nudge him off the road. He didn't say it. What are you not telling me? I asked. He looked at me with a tenderness that resembled cruelty. Only because I didn't want it. He wasn't alone, Ethan said. Everything in me stilled. Who? Jenna, he said. The name detonated. What do you mean Jenna was? She was in the car, Ethan said. Passenger side. Her face was bloody. I got her out while I called dispatch. She kept saying I didn't mean it over and over. I gripped the edge of the table. Didn't mean what? His mouth opened, closed. To run, he said finally. She didn't mean to run. Silence again, this time shaped like a tunnel. On the other end, a scene I couldn't see clearly. My husband driving through rain, the girl, the guardrail, a choice. Ethan, I said, and my voice was a thread pulled too tight. Why was she in the car with your father? He looked at his hands. He was taking her to a shelter. A pause. Or to the bus station. He wasn't sure which yet. He said March would hunt her if she stayed. He said he'd pay for a week and then we'd figure it out. The room swam. Why didn't the police say there was a passenger? They did, he said, but they said she was a hitchhiker. It was cleaner. Jesus Christ. He begged me, Ethan said, and in that phrase I could hear Nathan's voice, low and fierce, bargaining with the universe. He said if I told anyone she'd be sent back. He said he would fix everything in the morning. And then, he gestured at the air. At the word we had been living inside for months. And then, I tried to breathe around the thought. My husband dying with a stranger in the seat beside him. My son holding a phone with the power to rewrite her life not as victim but as problem. My city accepting a lie because it made the paperwork shorter. And March, I said. What happened to March after the crash? Ethan's eyes went flat. He moved. It should have ended there, with the confession that wasn't a confession, with the truth that left the floor intact but made the walls tilt. It didn't. 2 days later I found the second journal. It wasn't a Moleskine. It was digital, a file tucked deep in the air purifier's firmware, right where a man who hated dust would hide a secret because no one else in the house would ever think to update a HEPA filter's software. The file was timestamped the day before he died. It contained one page, a note. If something happens to me, it won't be an accident. March knows you. He knows the boy. He knows how to make fear look like fate. The only proof I have is in the glove compartment. But don't open it if you want to stay alive. Burn what you find. Walk away. Save the boy from himself. I read it 3 times. Then I took the spare key to Nathan's wreck out of the enamel dish by the front door. The one I couldn't bear to throw away because habits masquerading as rituals feel like grief's religion. And I drove to the impound lot. The attendant didn't look up when I said his name. He just pointed toward a gash of twisted steel under a torn tarp. Rain smell lived inside the car even though it had been dry for months. I sat in the driver's seat because sitting in the passenger seat felt like trespass. My hand shook over the glove box latch. I heard Nathan, don't burn it. Walk away. I opened it anyway. Inside, a small flash drive in a plastic bag, and a folded piece of paper with a single address written in Nathan's neat engineer script. 112 Calder Street. Unit B. The handwriting that had always calmed me became a blade. I slipped the drive into my bra like a thief and pocketed the address. When I turned to leave, I saw the dent on the passenger side door. Deep, ragged, not from the guardrail, from something lower, like a hitch receiver, or a push. The report said single vehicle collision. The dent said otherwise. I didn't tell Ethan about the note. I told him I needed space, which was true. I also told him to stay home that night, which was a lie. I knew he'd follow me no matter what I said. Calder Street was on the bad side of town. The part where streetlights blinked like they were embarrassed to be seen working. Unit B was down a narrow walkway between 2 brick buildings. I smelled damp carpet, old laundry, rotting fruit, the constellation of poverty. For a moment I thought I had the wrong place. Then I heard it. A low, repetitive thud. I turned the knob. It wasn't locked. Jenna sat on the floor with her back against a sofa cushion, rhythmically knocking her head against the wall. A bruise shaped like a thumbprint lived along her jaw. When she saw me, she flinched and hid her face. "Jenna," I said softly. She froze, looked up. Didn't recognize me, then did. "Mrs. Hale." Her voice was paper thin. "Oh God, it's okay. I lied." The lies came easier now, like cigarettes you don't want but will accept because your hands need something to do. "I'm not here to hurt you." She started to cry, not loud, the kind of crying you do when you've trained your body not to need witnesses. "It was my fault," she whispered. "If I just kept my mouth shut." "Stop," I said more sharply than I meant. "Nothing was your fault." I kneeled. My knees cracked like old wood. "Tell me exactly what happened that night." She told me. March had pounded on her door after midnight. He was drunk. He said her mother owed him money. He said she could work it off. He grabbed her wrist. She bit him and ran. She hid behind the dumpster at the corner store until Nathan pulled up in a car I knew as well as my own heartbeat. Nathan said, "Get in." She did. He said, "We're going to the shelter." And then he made the mistake all good men make when they still believe the world is a rule book. He thought turning onto a well-lit highway made him safe. "Another car followed," she said. "Big. Like a truck. It had those metal teeth in front." "A hitch," I said. "Yeah. It hit us on the side. Not hard." Just enough. He spun. Her eyes went glassy. He told me to run. He told me to say I was a hitchhiker if the police found me. He said he was sorry for everything. For what? She shook her head. I don't know. Maybe for dying. I swallowed. Did you see who was driving the truck? No, she said. But I saw the window roll down at the light before it happened, and I saw his face in the side mirror. Whose? Your neighbor, she said. The cop. My stomach tried to climb out of my body. March. She nodded. I thought he was going to kill me. Instead, he killed him. I stood too fast. The room wobbled. Why didn't you tell the police? She gave me a look I deserved. Because he's a cop, she said. And I'm me. I reached into my pocket, hands shaking, and pulled out the folded note. I have a drive, I said. He left it in the glove box. I don't know what's on it, but he said to burn it. Her eyes widened. Then burn it. I can't, I said. You have a son, she said, like she was reminding me of the terms of a contract. Do you want him to survive? My body knew the answer before my mind did. Yes, I wanted him to survive. I also wanted my husband's death to be something other than weather. These wants collided in my chest, sparks falling into dry brush. A noise outside, gravel shifting under shoes. Jenna flinched. She pressed her finger to her lips and pointed to the back door. I moved toward it. She grabbed my sleeve. If you don't burn it, she whispered, don't let him see you have it. Who? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Through the cheap blinds I saw March standing by the curb, his silhouette cut from night. He held a paper bag like a peace offering. He smiled at nothing. A second shape stepped out of the shadow beside him. Ethan. The world made a sound I had never heard, like metal remembering it used to be. Or my son and the man who killed my husband stood 10 feet apart like a math problem that ends in blood. I opened the back door and walked into the alley. Ethan, I said. I kept my voice calm because the only weapon I had was an old mother trick. Pretend you control the room until the room believes you. He startled. Mom. March's grin widened. Evening, he drawled, like we were catching up at a barbecue that began in hell. He lifted the paper bag. Dinner. Thought the girl could use something real to eat. He cocked his head. Didn't expect company. You killed my husband, I said. I thought my voice would shake. It didn't. Came out flat like a verdict. March's smile didn't reach his eyes. Now that's a big word. Killed or husband? I asked. Both were true. He chuckled. You've been reading the internet too much. Ethan stepped between us. Don't talk to her. March's gaze slid to my son like oil finding a seam. You've been busy, kid, he said. Following me, taking pictures. Think you're Batman. Think you're safe because you used to be a cop? Ethan shot back. March's jaw twitched. The first crack in the performance. I'm safe because I know which lines people won't cross, he said. You won't hurt me. Your mother won't let you. And the girl won't talk because she still wants to live. He shrugged. So we all keep breathing. That's how this goes. I took a step forward. He took one back. For a moment, I saw fear in his eyes and understood the simple arithmetic of men like him. Courage born only from expectation of immunity. Leave, I said. If I see you again, I'll make sure your face is a headline. He laughed, but it sounded wrong. You think anyone believes headlines anymore? He waved the bag. Soup's getting cold. I heard a rustle behind me, the back door clicking. Jenna stood in the doorway, her shoulders squared even though one leg shook. We don't want your food, she said. His jaw set. You never did know what was good for you. Go, I said. Now. He went. Not because I scared him, but because he had already done the math. Too many witnesses, not enough alibis. The truck idled at the curb. He slid behind the wheel, shoulders relaxed like a man driving home from church. Ethan exhaled like he'd been holding air for a year. We need to give the drive to the police, he said. I looked at him for a long time. I read Dad's note, I said. He told me to burn it. He flinched. And you're going to? No, I said. His face flooded with relief and fear at the same time. Then we finish what he started. I closed my hand around the drive in my pocket and felt its hard edges bite my skin. A car door slammed down the block. Then another. Voices. Not March this time. Different cadence. Two men arguing quietly the way dangerous men do when they don't want to break a mood. Inside, I said, pushing Ethan and Jenna toward the door. Now. We moved. The hall smelled like damp and Lysol. I locked the door even though the lock looked decorative. The argument outside stopped. Footsteps approached. One set heavy, one light. A knock. Jenna's eyes went wide. He wouldn't come back this fast. He wouldn't need to, I said. He'd send someone else. Another knock, more insistent. A voice through the wood. Delivery. A pause. From Davenport. The name reached me before the meaning did. Davenport, the development firm that had paid men like our neighbor in another story in another town. The kind of name that sits in minutes of meetings and never sees a courtroom. Ethan looked at me. Mom. I pulled the drive from my pocket and made the first true decision I had made since the night my husband died. Run. I whispered. Out the back. Both of you. To the alley. Turn right then left. Don't stop until you hit the lit street. Blend. If someone follows, find people. I'm not leaving you, Ethan said. Yes, you are, I said, because your father asked me to save the boy from himself, and he was talking about you. Tears filled his eyes and made him look 7 again. Mom, I love you. Go. The knock came again, louder. The door shook in its frame. Jenna grabbed Ethan's sleeve. He hesitated, then moved. At the threshold, he turned. What are you going to do? I held up the flash drive. End it, I said. One way or another. They ran. The back door whispered shut. The front door shuddered as someone put a shoulder into it. Last chance, a voice called cheerfully. Or we come in and it gets messy. I walked to the kitchen sink, turned on the tap, and slid the flash drive into my mouth so my hands would be free. The taste of plastic and metal sat on my tongue like a dare. I picked up the cheapest weapon in the room. The cast iron skillet I'd seasoned 100 times with oil and patience and what I had always believed was a normal life. The lock snapped. The door flew inward. 2 men stepped through, one with a pleasant face and dead eyes, the other with a pleasant face and dead eyes. I smiled. Delivery, I asked and swung. When I swung that skillet, I wasn't aiming to win, just to interrupt. The first man ducked. The second didn't. Iron met bone with a sound I'll never forget, a dull, wet finality. The first man grabbed my arm, twisting hard. The flash drive clattered across the floor. He hissed. You shouldn't have come here, Mrs. Hale. He said my name like he'd practiced it. Like it wasn't the first time. I drove my knee up into his stomach. He grunted but didn't loosen his grip. His partner was already moving again, blood snaking down the side of his face. Then a crash from the back. Ethan. He burst through the door holding something I hadn't seen in years. The old baseball bat Nathan used to keep behind our laundry room door. He swung without hesitation. The man dropped. Go, I screamed. Ethan grabbed the flash drive, pulled me toward the back, and we ran. We didn't stop until the city lights turned from yellow to blue, that strange hour where everything looks washed of color. I didn't realize we were in front of the library until I saw the glass doors reflecting us. 2 figures soaked in sweat, panting, half-feral. Inside, I found a corner desk with public computers. Ethan kept watch while I plugged in the drive. There was only one file, march_report.pdf. I opened it. My husband's notes filled the screen. Pages of time-stamped photos, surveillance stills, and police reports, all pointing to the same thing. March wasn't just a drunk ex-cop. He was a fixer. He'd been working for Davenport Consulting for over a decade, quietly managing liabilities in neighborhoods scheduled for redevelopment. Anyone who got in the way, whistleblowers, journalists, families who refused to sell, eventually faced accidents. And at the bottom of the document was the last image Nathan ever took. A photo from his dashcam. Through rain-streaked glass, a truck loomed behind him, bumper inches away, license plate blurred by motion, but the silhouette inside clear. March. There was more. Video clips, voice recordings, Nathan's voice steady and weary. If anything happens to me, it's because I couldn't walk away. I told them no. I told them my family wasn't for sale. March said everyone has a price. He's wrong. I just hope my son remembers why. I pressed my hand to my mouth. Ethan whispered, Mom, we need to take this to the police. I shook my head. No, if Davenport has cops on payroll, this dies in evidence. Then what do we do? I looked at the file, my husband's final act of resistance, and understood what burn it really meant. He hadn't meant destroy it. He'd meant release it, expose it, burn the whole system down. We spent the next 48 hours like ghosts moving through static. Motels, gas stations, old laptops from pawn shops. Everywhere I looked, I felt March's shadow stretching behind us. By the 3rd night I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window watching headlights smear across rain, wondering if Nathan would forgive me for dragging our son into this. That's when Ethan said, Mom, I think we're being followed. A car idled across the street. Same make, same dent pattern on the hood. It wasn't March's truck. It was darker, newer, corporate. They found us, I said. We moved again, deeper into the city, to an old co-worker of Nathan's who owed him a favor. The man's name was David. A quiet type, too kind for the things he'd seen. He let us crash in his basement, no questions asked. When I told him everything, he didn't look surprised. He just asked one question. You have the file? Yes. Then you need to leak it. Fast. He helped us set up a secure upload, mirrored servers, anonymous VPNs, all the things Nathan used to mumble about when he worked late. We uploaded the folder. All of it. It was done. Or so I thought. The story broke 3 days later. Headlines everywhere. Ex-cop linked to developer's death cover-up. Davenport Consulting under federal investigation. For a moment, a small fragile moment, I thought we were safe. Then Jenna disappeared. Her apartment was empty. Phone dead. No note. No sign of struggle. Just gone. Ethan blamed himself. She was the only witness. They found her first. I wanted to tell him he was wrong. I didn't, because that night, someone slipped an envelope under our door. Inside, a photo. Jenna, sitting in the passenger seat of a black SUV, eyes closed, seatbelt on, and written across the photo in sharp black ink, "She's safe. You won't be." Ethan wanted to run again. I wanted to believe there was somewhere left to go. But the world had already decided we were characters in a story with one ending. That night I dreamed of Nathan, sitting in the car, rain on the windshield, whispering, "Save the boy from himself." I woke up and realized what he meant. He didn't just mean keep Ethan safe. He meant keep him from becoming me, from believing that truth is worth every cost. Because it isn't. Not always. The next morning, Ethan was gone. He'd taken my car, my laptop, the drive's backup. There was a note on the kitchen counter. "You did what you could. Now I'll do the rest." He killed Dad. I'm not waiting for justice. Don't follow me. I called every number I could. No answer. I drove to March's neighborhood, empty. His truck gone. His windows boarded. By sunset, I got the call. They found a car burned out near the industrial district. 2 bodies inside. Unrecognizable. The plate was mine. I didn't go to the morgue. Not right away. Because denial is an anesthetic, and I wasn't ready for pain. But when I finally did, the sheet felt too light for both of them. The coroner said the fire was too hot, too fast. Accelerant used. They couldn't be sure it was Ethan. DNA pending. Part of me still waits for him to walk through the door. Part of me knows that if he ever does, he won't be my son anymore. Because truth doesn't return what it destroys. It only leaves light where shadows used to be. It took 3 weeks for the DNA results, 21 days of pretending I still believed in breakfast, in mail delivery, in sleep. The call came on a Tuesday. The woman on the other end spoke gently, the way people do when they've practiced bad news. "It's a match," she said. "We're very sorry, Mrs. Hale." I thanked her, hung up, and sat in silence. It wasn't shock. It wasn't even grief. It was a kind of understanding, the quiet, terrible kind that feels like acceptance but isn't. I poured coffee I didn't drink, opened the curtains Nathan used to close every night because he said the moonlight made the floors fade, let the room fill with gray. Then I opened my laptop. The story had stopped trending. Davenport CEO resigned. March was under investigation. Half the files had vanished from public servers. The world moved on. That's what it does. It eats tragedy, digests it into hashtags, and asks what's for dinner. But one article caught my eye. Anonymous source leaks unreleased audio linking developer to police corruption case. Attached was a clip 15 seconds long. Nathan's voice. "You can kill me, but you can't bury every witness. Some truths don't burn." Then static. And in the background, faint but there, another voice. "Ethan's. Then we'll burn them first." I closed the laptop. I wanted to scream. Instead, I laughed sharp, brittle, ugly, because I realized he'd done it. He'd finished what his father started. He hadn't gone to kill March. He'd gone to expose him, and himself with him. The car, the fire. It wasn't revenge. It was sacrifice. He'd made himself the proof. A week later, a small padded envelope arrived in the mail. No return address. Postmarked from 3 states away. Inside, a USB drive and a note in my son's handwriting. "If you're reading this, I did what I had to. Don't look for me. Tell Dad I get it now." I plugged it in with shaking hands. There was a single video. Ethan sitting in the car, dashboard lights flickering across his face. He looked older, not by years but by choice. "Hey Mom," he said softly. "If you're seeing this, then yeah. You know, you were right about one thing, truth doesn't fix anything, but it stops the bleeding. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just couldn't let them erase him. Dad didn't die for nothing. I'll make sure of that." He looked down for a moment, smiled in that crooked way that used to drive me crazy when he was small. "Don't hate me. I'm not gone. Not really. I'm just outside the picture." The video ended. I watched it again. And again. Until the screen blurred and the only sound left in the room was the hum of the air purifier. Still running. Still pretending dust is the enemy. Months passed. The house emptied itself, one object at a time. The couch went first. Then the bed. Eventually, only the desk remained. And the journal. Kept it. Not because I wanted to remember. Because I wanted to understand. When people asked what happened, the reporters, the neighbors, the kind ones who didn't know when to stop, I told them the truth, but not all of it. I said my husband was brave. I said my son was too. And when they asked if I believed justice had been served, I said, justice isn't a scale, it's a scar, because that's what truth leaves, scars. Some on the skin, some in the bloodline. One night, I drove back to the highway where Nathan died. The guardrail was new, silver, unblemished. They'd paved over the skid marks, built a rest stop nearby, turned tragedy into convenience. I parked, stepped out, and listened. Wind. Rain, distant traffic, then faint, almost imagine, the low hum of an engine behind me. I turned. A truck slowed, headlights dimmed. Same make, same model. My breath caught, but when it passed, the driver was just a man, tired, ordinary. Still, for one instant, I could have sworn I saw Ethan in the passenger seat, looking straight ahead, eyes calm. Like a promise kept, I went home, sat at the kitchen table, opened a new notebook. On the first page I wrote, "If you're reading this, it means I finally stopped running." Then I closed it, turned off the purifier, and let the dust settle. For the first time in years, I wanted it to. Because maybe that's what truth really is. Not a weapon, not a cure, but the moment you finally stop cleaning the mess and just learn to breathe in the ashes. My husband died for the truth. My son burned for it. And I live in it. That's the punishment.